Hello, welcome back to our channel. Today, we will delve into one of the most shocking and mind-bending mysteries currently unfolding in Salem. The question that has Days of Our Lives fans on the edge of their seats is this: has Andre DiMera kidnapped his own brother Tony to transform him into the next incarnation of their infamous father, Stefan DiMera? The unsettling transformation of Tony DiMera. For months now, dedicated viewers have noticed something profoundly disturbing about Tony DiMera's behavior and demeanor. The subtle changes in his facial expressions, the calculating gleam in his eyes, and his sudden obsessive interest in preserving and controlling DiMera Enterprises have all raised significant red flags among the fanbase. Tony has historically been characterized as one of the few good DiMeras, a man who never shared his father Stefano's ruthless ambition or his brother Andre's cunning manipulation. Throughout his tenure in Salem, Tony maintained a certain nobility and moral compass that distinguished him from the darker members of his notorious family. Yet the Tony we've been watching lately exhibits none of these redeeming qualities. Instead, he displays the trademark scheming and power-hungry characteristics that define Andre DiMera during his most devious periods. This dramatic personality shift has led many astute fans to theorize that Andrew, who was believed to be deceased, has somehow survived and is once again impersonating his brother. A deception he's executed with such flawless precision that even Anna DiMera, Tony's devoted wife who has known him intimately for decades, cannot detect the difference. The mysterious disappearance in Greece. The situation reached a critical turning point when Anna embarked on what should have been a romantic Mediterranean cruise with her husband. When Tony failed to return to the ship near Athens, Greece, Anna's initial concern transformed into genuine alarm. Her first call to E.J. DiMera, the current head of DiMera Enterprises, was met with casual dismissal. Simply assumed that Tony had lost track of time while exploring the historic Greek city, perhaps lingering too long at an archaeological site or becoming engrossed in conversation at a local taverna. However, Anna's second frantic phone call painted a far more sinister picture. Tony hadn't merely lost track of time, he had completely vanished, missing the departure entirely and leaving no explanation, no message, and no trace of his whereabouts. For a man as responsible and devoted to his wife as the real Tony DiMera has always been, this behavior is not just out of character, it's virtually impossible. The timing and location of this disappearance raise haunting questions. If Andre has indeed been impersonating Tony, where has the genuine Tony DiMera been all this time? Has he been held captive for months, imprisoned in some secret location while his identity was stolen and his life was usurped? The corporate power grab. One of the most glaring indicators that something sinister is afoot involves Tony's recent corporate maneuvering. The authentic Tony DiMera never exhibited the slightest interest in running DiMera Enterprises, viewing the family business as a corrupting influence that brought nothing but misery and moral compromise. He preferred a life focused on art, culture, and his relationship with Anna, deliberately distancing himself from the corporate intrigue and criminal enterprises that defined the DiMera legacy. In stark contrast, the current Tony has become obsessively consumed with maintaining control over DiMera Enterprises, involving himself in strategic decisions, corporate acquisitions, and power plays that would have previously held zero appeal for him. This sudden transformation from disinterested family member to aggressive corporate player represents such a fundamental change in character that it cannot be dismissed as mere character development or midlife crisis. The evidence increasingly suggests that this is not character evolution but character replacement. Andrew wearing his brother's face and living his brother's life while pursuing his own dark agenda. The Horton Clinic, a facade for dark purposes. The suspicious timing of Tony's disappearance becomes even more ominous when examined in context with other mysterious developments in Salem, particularly the imminent opening of the Dr. Tom Horton Free Clinic. This seemingly benevolent medical facility, established to honor one of Salem's most beloved physicians and provide health care to the community's underserved populations, has attracted considerable attention, but not all of it positive. Perceptive fans and certain Salem residents have noted peculiarities about the clinic's construction and design, including the existence of secret areas and unexplained security measures that seem excessive for a charitable medical facility. The fact that Tony vanished just days before the clinic's grand opening ceremony strikes many observers as far too convenient to be mere coincidence. What nefarious purposes might these hidden sections serve? Could they conceal advanced medical laboratories, cryogenic storage facilities, or experimental treatment chambers. Furthermore, speculation has emerged about E.G. Dimmer's involvement in purchasing medical facilities and potentially establishing a separate Dimmer family clinic operating parallel to the Horton facility. The ISA has launched an undercover investigation led by operatives including Kat Green and Rafe Hernandez, attempting to discover who financed these medical acquisitions and what shadowy purposes they might serve. The Dimmer family has a long, dark history of utilizing medical facilities for unethical experiments, mind control research, and biotechnology projects that blur the line between cutting-edge science and crimes against humanity. The chilling cryogenic chamber scene, perhaps the most disturbing evidence supporting the theory of Andre's deception and hidden agenda, comes from a brief but deeply unsettling scene featured in the most recent fall preview for Days of Our Lives. In this cryptic sequence, viewers witnessed a figure who appears to be Andre or possibly Tony, though the identity remains deliberately ambiguous, standing before a sophisticated cryogenic preservation tube. Inside this high-tech chamber lies a human form, preserved in suspended animation, its features obscured by frost and the curved glass of the containment vessel. The figure gazes down at this frozen body with an expression mixing reverence, anticipation, and barely contained excitement before uttering the spine-chilling words, "It's almost time, Father." This declaration carries profound implications for the future of Salem and the Dimmer family. The identity of the person in that cryogenic tube seems unmistakable. It can only be Stefano Dimmer, the legendary Phoenix who has cheated death more times than any character in daytime television history. The Phoenix rises again. Stefano Dimmer, portrayed with magnetic menace by the late Joseph Mascolo for over 3 decades, stands as one of the most iconic villains in soap opera history and indeed in all of television drama. Known as the Phoenix for his seemingly supernatural ability to return from apparent death, Stefano has been presumed deceased several times, only to resurface with new schemes and renewed vengeance. When Mascolo passed away in 2016, the character was written off, and many fans believe that out of respect for the actor's legendary portrayal, Stefano Dimmer would remain deceased. However, soap opera death is rarely permanent, and the Dimmer family possesses access to technology and medical expertise that operates well beyond the boundaries of conventional science. Dr. Wilhelm Rolf, Stefano's loyal and morally flexible scientist, has developed innovations ranging from resurrection serums and personality microchips to advanced cloning techniques and undetectable identity replacement masks. This mad genius successfully transferred Stefano's consciousness into Steve Johnson's body in 2019 to 2020, creating the disturbing hybrid known as Stevino. Recent storyline developments have featured multiple characters discussing Stefano's legendary status and hinting strongly at his potential return. Rafe Hernandez specifically told Kat Green that there's a significant reason Stefano earned the nickname the Phoenix, referencing his pattern of apparent deaths followed by shocking resurrections. Anna Dimmer reported to Tony that Susan Banks, a psychic with proven supernatural sensitivities, has sensed Stefano's malevolent presence lingering in Salem. Even more disturbing, Marlena Evans suffered unspeakable trauma at Stefano's hands, including demonic possession indirectly caused by his Shemesh, has begun experiencing vivid nightmares about becoming Stefano's Queen of the Night once again. The terrible plan, Tony as Stefano's new vessel. The evidence now points toward a horrifying possibility. Andre has kidnapped Tony not simply to impersonate him for corporate advantage, but to prepare his brother's body and mind to become the new host for their father's consciousness and personality. The irony here cuts particularly deep. It was Tony himself, working alongside Chad Dimmer, who destroyed the personality chip that had transformed Steve Johnson into Stevino, liberating Steve from Stefano's mental imprisonment. Tony struck that blow specifically to prevent his father from causing further harm and destroying another innocent man's identity. Now, in a cruel twist of fate, Tony may become the very vessel for his father's resurrection that he once fought to prevent. If Andre has indeed been impersonating Tony for months, he would have had ample time to prepare his brother through psychological conditioning, medical procedures, or technological implantation to receive Stefano's preserved consciousness. The cryogenic chamber likely contains either Stefano's preserved body awaiting reanimation or biological materials necessary for the consciousness transfer process. Dr. Rolf undoubtedly plays a central role in this diabolic scheme. The mad scientist has been developing new and improved methods for resurrecting his beloved master, learning from the limitations and eventual failure of the Stevino experiment. He may have perfected a more stable consciousness transfer technique, or perhaps developed cloning technology advanced enough to create a new Stefano body that perfectly matches the original. The secret areas within the Horton Clinic or EJ's mysteriously acquired medical facilities would provide the ideal cover for such unethical and illegal experimentation. The missing Stefan Demera connection. Another intriguing element of this complex puzzle involves the mysterious absence of Stefan Demera, another of Stefano's sons. Stefan supposedly left Salem months ago, divorcing Gabby Hernandez and relocating to the fictional European nation of Alemania. However, no one has actually confirmed Stefan's presence there, and the only evidence of his continued existence was a get-well card sent to EJ Communication that could easily have been forged by anyone with access to stationery and knowledge of Stefan's handwriting. Stefan was last seen being forcibly stuffed into a car trunk by one of his mother Vivian Alamain's henchmen, with the assumption being that Vivian had arranged for her son's rescue and transport to Alemania. But what if Stefan never reached that destination? What if he too has been held captive, possibly in a facility controlled by Andre or Dr. Rolf? The possibility exists that multiple Demera sons are being held as potential vessels for their father's consciousness, with Dr. Rolf and Andre evaluating which candidate would provide the most suitable host body for Stefano's resurrection. Anna's unwitting role. Perhaps the most tragic element of this entire conspiracy involves Anna Demera, a woman who has loved Tony deeply and faithfully through decades of separation, impersonation, and family drama. Anna has been living with and loving a man she believes to be her husband, completely unaware that the person sharing her bed, her home, and her life may actually be Andre Tony's treacherous brother and her husband's longtime impersonator. If Andre has truly achieved such a perfect impersonation that even Anna cannot detect the deception, it speaks to both his acting abilities and his intimate knowledge of his brother's personality, mannerisms, and relationship history. Anna has been fooled by Andre's impersonations before, but never for such an extended period, and never so completely. When the truth inevitably emerges, the psychological devastation she will experience, learning that she has been deceived for months and that her real husband has been held captive and possibly subjected to horrific medical procedures, will be almost unbearable. The countdown to horror. The phrase "it's almost time" father suggests that Andre's plan, whatever its full scope may be, is approaching its culmination. The opening of the Horton Clinic, with its secret sections and hidden purposes, may provide the final piece of infrastructure necessary to complete the resurrection process. The return of numerous Horton family members for the clinic's ribbon-cutting ceremony, including Mike Horton, Jeremy Horton, Jennifer Horton, and Jack Deverox, means that many of Salem's most prominent citizens will be gathered in one location, potentially witnessing or becoming victims of whatever catastrophe Andre has orchestrated. As Days of Our Lives approaches its 60th anniversary, the show's writers appear to be crafting a storyline worthy of this milestone, bringing back one of the series' most legendary villains in a manner both shocking and true to the character's established mythology. Actor Thal Penglis, who portrays both Tony and Andre with nuanced distinction, has indicated that certain characters are too unique and important to the show's history to be recast, suggesting that any Stefano return must be handled with particular care and creativity. Conclusion. The evidence increasingly supports a terrifying conclusion. Andre Demera has indeed kidnapped his brother Tony, imprisoned him for months while living his life and controlling his identity, and now prepares to sacrifice Tony's body and soul to resurrect their infamous father, Stefano the Phoenix Demera. This plot encompasses identity theft, corporate manipulation, advanced biotechnology, and the ultimate betrayal of family bonds. As events accelerate toward their inevitable climax, Salem stands on the brink of experiencing the return of its greatest villain, reborn in a new body but retaining all the cunning, ruthlessness, and unstoppable ambition that made Stefano Demera a legend. The only questions remaining are, can anyone stop this resurrection before it's too late? Will the real Tony Demera be rescued and restored? And what apocalyptic schemes will the reborn Phoenix unleash upon Salem?